Okay, hey guys, so welcome to our sixth webinar on financial aid and scholarships. First of all, we're partnered with Bruin to Bruin, which is an amazing club that helps students with tutoring work, even though it's online right now. So please go check them out if you're interested in any help. So first of all, we want to introduce a few guests that we invited to the webinar today.
Hi there, I'm Anastasia Langner. I'm a sophomore at Kenyon College and I'm a Branham alumnum of 2019. My majors currently are English with an emphasis in creative writing and sociology. And a fun fact about me is one of the scholarships that I won required me to submit my fiction, and as someone who's majoring in English with an emphasis in creative writing, it was very exciting to see people take an interest in my work enough to invest in me in my future.
Majoring in aerospace engineering with a concentration in space exploration with minors in physics and computer science. Fun fact about me, I spent actually about like a summer and a half at USC in a residential program there doing some pretty fun classes as part of a scholarship program.
Hey guys, I'm Madison Smith. I'm a sophomore currently at the University of Arizona with my major in pre-nursing and a minor in Spanish and public health. And my fun fact is I received over $20,000 in scholarships.
And then Xiaomian, did you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, oh yeah, forgot about that. Hi, I'm Xiaomian. I'm an incoming freshman at Stanford, and I'm currently undeclared in major, but interested in engineering subjects. And George, do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm George. I'm a second year at UCLA, and my current field of study is probably astrobiology.
Hi everyone, my name is Lauren. I'm a sophomore at Georgetown University, and I plan on majoring in either Justice and Peace Studies and Women and Gender Studies.
So this week's mental health tip of the week is regarding finances. So immediately, obviously, especially within a pandemic, finances can be extremely intimidating at first. A lot of you might not have had jobs yet, so thinking about like gaining money for college can be a completely new field. But here's a system completely here to support you. We're going to give you information to numerous organizations and scholarships out there for you, and direct you to other resources that you can contact. The most important thing, though, to remember is to hold yourself accountable. Throughout this process, you have to be your greatest ally, because colleges won't necessarily want to give you money, so you're going to have to do what you can to really seek out, really put your all into the applications that will definitely come with asking for money. Colleges aren't just going to give it to you. They want to see that you're going to be using this money for your education, that you have these high aspirations. And so your research into college finances, into scholarships, into financial aid can never start early. So thank you already for coming to this webinar. You're already on that track to making good decisions. So good on you. Oh, Lauren, do you want to take it away with this?
Next, we're gonna talk about, now we're gonna talk about the roadmap for our webinar today. First, we're gonna start out talking about different financial aid applications, such as FAFSA and the CSS Profile. Second, we're gonna talk about scholarships, both private scholarships, college-based scholarships, and also Questbridge. Third, we're gonna talk about the appeal process, which is after you get accepted into the college, how do you force it to give you more money? The fourth section is other methods of saving money. And then fifth section, we'll talk about tips that Ms. Perez gave us about the scholarship process. And sixth, we'll provide a short takeaway section and then jump right into the Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout this webinar, privately message Xiaomian And then we'll get to all your questions at the end.
So now we're going to be talking about the financial aid application that you're going to begin with as a student right now. The main one we're going to be talking about is FAFSA. That's what hopefully all of you will be accessing. And later on, we'll also be talking about the CSS profile, which is more specific to if you're applying to a private university. So what is FAFSA? Basically, it's free money from the government. And this application opens October 1st, so it's coming up. And the most important thing we want you to know about this is that this is one of your main priorities right now. Because the government's budget is limited, you can access the most money possible for you by applying as early as possible. So the earlier you apply, the more money you're qualified for and the more money you can get from that qualification. That said, of course, please be accurate with the info you submit because you don't want to get audited by the IRS. The application itself takes a few hours maximum, so please make sure to see if you can sit down with your guardians. If you can't get them, then just make sure you have access to the necessary tax forms, which will include the family tax returns, income forms, your social security number and your guardian's social security number, just one of them. And W-2 forms. Hopefully you'll be able to, you have some place that your family is storing them. And if you're applying this year, 2020, then you'll want your forms from 2018. You can also appeal and submit updated documentation later through financial aid offices at the school you've been accepted to. So this is what the FAFSA page looks like immediately. And hopefully you'll go to the create account page. And the first thing you'll do is create your FSA ID, which is basically your username, and your password. And please make sure to write both down. This is what you'll be using to continuously sign into your FAFSA. And you can also pause it if you need and go back to it, and you'll have to re-sign in, of course. Your parent or guardian also, just one of them needs an FSA ID. So if you have an older sibling, they might already have one. But if not, then make sure that they also create one. Throughout the actual application, you'll be submitting your demographics, your high school, your household size, your parents' information, the family incomes forms I mentioned before, and including yours if you have a job too. And that would be basically it. So it would only take a few hours. And you can submit this info to up to 10 schools at a time. So if you're applying to more than 10 schools and you want all of them to get your FAFSA information, you'll have to exit the page. And once you go back and you've already submitted 10 of those schools, you clear them out and you submit however more. And we'll also have a step-by-step guide in the Google Classroom post later on after this webinar. So please make sure to sign up for our Google Classroom. We'll have the link posted later on too.
So another application that you should be familiar with is the CSS. In simple words, it's basically free money for private university financial aids, which is done through College Board. So there are several reasons why you should apply to CSS Profile. And first, many private universities require the CSS Profile to grant institutional financial aid. And second, the CSS Profile provides a more in-depth review of your financial needs that allows you to explain your special circumstances. So if you want to explain all your, if you want to consider all your financial options, please consider completing the CSS and the FAFSA. And similar to the FAFSA, the CSS Profile opens on October 1st, and if you apply earlier, potentially you'll be able to get more aid. What is different, however, is that what is different from the FAFSA is that the CSS Profile does come with a cost. It first costs $25 for submitting the application as well as one college. Then it's $16 for every additional college add-on. And similar to SAT and AP tests done with College Board, if you are granted a fee waiver, you can also apply this to the CSS Profile. So this is the first page that you will encounter when you first access the CSS profile. You'll first log in with your College Board account. Then to fill out the CSS profile, you will need your family's federal tax return if you complete them. And you need to provide your family's income information 2 years prior to when you were attending the college. So basically 2018, similar to the FAFSA. You will also fill out some information about your family's income from the past and current year, as well as anticipated income for future years. Other items that you might need are the W-2 form, records of untaxed income and benefits, as well as records of investment and bank statements. So feel free to take a screenshot of this page or watch our recording later on for this information. However, different from the FAFSA, you will also need to fill out the application cycle in which you're applying to colleges. So for example, ED, RD, or EA, and your major of interest. But the bottom line is, if you have any questions about whether to fill the FAFSA or the CSS profile, you can check out the financial aid website on the colleges that you're applying to for deadlines and specific informations, as well as the step-to-step guide.
All right, and next up in your financial, video on. Alrighty. Next up in your financial aid journey is exploring scholarships. And under scholarships, there are 2 different designations: private scholarships and college scholarships, as well as opportunities with Questbridge. So regarding private scholarships, that essentially is an umbrella term for any scholarship that is not directly associated with a college. These scholarships are these scholarship opportunities exist at all levels, and some may be exclusive to the community that you live in or to the state that you live in. Some programs may be tied to local businesses, and some may be tied to corporations. Often when you apply for these, you'll want to apply for things that aim for a specific characteristic that you possess for administrative status that it is designating, such as like your race, your ethnicity, your sex, etc., or an interest that you may have. And college scholarships are scholarships offered directly by whichever school you are applying to, and they can evaluate you either automatically when you, like as soon as you apply and given the information that's already in your application, or there may be a separate application process which will require you to maybe write an additional essay or to undergo an interview process. All right, and private scholarships. So my kind of immediate advice with this is to aim rather for like just applying to a few really large scholarships that have like big ticket numbers. You're going to want to go for all the smaller pieces, because often typically people are not going to be looking at scholarships that are only like a couple hundred and go, oh, okay, I want to go for that one. They're going to want to go for stuff that's worth like thousands and thousands of dollars. But if you collect enough of the smaller scholarships, and often those again are the ones that are applied to as often, they can accumulate and add up to quite a bit. And so regarding how you would find those, there are 2 kind of primary sites that we would recommend. The first is called Unigo, and the second is called Going Merry. For those of you who have spoken with Ms. Perez, Going Merry may sound familiar to you because it is a very excellent website to use, and Unigo is as well. So we can actually visit those front pages right now so you can get an idea of the interfaces. And so here we have Going Merry. This is just the front page right now, but once you do sign up, what happens is it drops you onto a page and asks you kind of about yourself, about your interests, about who you are, and then it automatically matches scholarships based upon what you answer with, so that you can begin going through the options that it presents to you, that the algorithm tailors for you, and then just start applying right off the bat. And then with Unigo as well, there's also an alike system, but there's also like a plethora of scholarships that are sorted by specific colleges, by online schools. There are easy scholarships that you can just like apply for by just clicking a button essentially, but that is also like an excellent place to look for private scholarships as well. And then see, we also have Ms. Perez as a resource. She compiles a spreadsheet of scholarships. We can go to that now. And as you can see through the sheet here, there's the title of it, a description, the requirements, so like what you would need in order to qualify, the date, the amount, and then the website which to access it. So you can go to her in order to acquire this link and to see what options are available for you. And then also regarding like Brenham exclusive scholarships, if you're part of any clubs or organizations on campus, you can go to the advisors or teachers and then ask about what options they have in terms of scholarship availability. And be sure to keep your eyes out for advertisements, or write specifically to teachers, to administration, to student leaders to see what opportunities that they know about and that can be made available to you.
So there's different kinds of scholarships that your college can offer. One of the first ones is a merit-based scholarship. And so basically when you apply to your college via your application, it'll take care of most of it, as you have to submit your transcript, which already holds your GPA. But one really important feature about the merit scholarships is to apply earlier, because similar to the FAFSA, certain schools, it's all dependent on what school you go to. They might have a designated budget and can only give out a certain monetary amount. So make sure to get your application in ahead if you kind of know what schools you're looking into. This way, you do secure the funding. Another really important feature is even if your school doesn't require standardizing testing, because I know with COVID, a lot of schools have waived that requirement. If you are still able to take the SAT or ACT, I recommend that you cement those scores, because they can't hurt you. If anything, they'll help you, because a lot of schools will use this thing called the grid scholarship system. And basically they'll match up your GPA and test score, and they'll give you an allocated amount of money. And currently College Board and the ACT are beginning to administer tests in person again in small and socially distanced groups.
Once you've gotten into your college, you can separately apply for their honors program, and that's a great resource for more exclusive scholarships. That's also something like, in comparison to the more like general university scholarships, here they'll have to qualify for a certain number of things. Like each university has an honors qualification, like you might have to have above a 3.0. It really depends on the school. And the application itself is just honestly an essay, and you can basically use your Common App one. And that will just open you up to a lot of different resources and mentorship opportunities too. And for different application scholarships, we really want to talk about the UC-wide program called Blue and Gold, which is eligible for freshmen and transfers too. So if your family income is below 80,000, you might qualify to have mostly all your tuition and your fees covered. It doesn't include housing technically, so be careful with that. And even if you don't apply to this, you can still get a lot of aid, but we'll submit the info and qualifications to Google Classroom too. And this is a great opportunity if these qualifications of 80,000 for family income apply to you.
Called Questbridge, which is geared towards low-income
Blake,
students.
we couldn't really hear you from the very beginning. Can you maybe start over? Thank you.
Okay, you can hear me now though, right?
Yes.
So a third, more unique type of scholarship is a program called Questbridge, which is geared towards low-income students and offers them a full 4-year scholarship to a school that they match with Questbridge to. I am actually a recipient of a Questbridge scholarship at MIT, which amounts to about $75,000 a year. So kind of the crown jewel of the Questbridge organization is something called the Questbridge College Match Program. And there's this graphic on the right, which is kind of a roadmap through the application. And at the beginning of this roadmap, it says that the Questbridge journey begins in the late summer coming into your senior year. And that's not entirely true, because there is a program for juniors called the Questbridge College Prep Scholars Program, which is the graphic on the left side of your screen. And so juniors apply to that in the middle part of their year. The application for that actually opens in February. And if you apply to that and get accepted to that program, that opens up a number of great opportunities for you, such as a full scholarship to a summer program at universities such as Stanford, Yale, Notre Dame, and a bunch of others, money to pay for campus visits and for standardized tests. When you think about the number of standardized tests that you'll have to take, I'm not completely sure about people's situations with COVID-19 and what colleges are asking for what standardized tests. But if you think about SATs, ACTs, SAT subject tests, AP scores, the cost for that can kind of rack up. And so this program really helps alleviate a lot of that cost. And then there's also just a number of other resources geared to help high school students navigate the college application process. And another really cool part about being a college prep scholar is that it carries over into your application your senior year, which is the Questbridge College Match Program. And so I like to really break down the application for the College Match Program into 3 main phases. And so the first phase is applying to Questbridge as a whole. So here you're applying to be what's called a Questbridge finalist. So you're not actually applying to a specific school. And the application deadline for that is September 29th, I believe. So the application to apply to Questbridge as a whole is currently open right now. And so then the second phase is ranking schools. And so there are a number of schools who are Questbridge partners. And so with your application, you get to rank up to 12 of those schools. And the ranking for those schools really matters because after you rank them and kind of towards the end of the process, let's say the first school accepts you, the school ranked first, and the school ranked third also accepts you. Because the school ranked first accepted you and it's ranked higher, you have to go to that school. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, Questbridge is a binding application, which means if you get into Questbridge, if you get into a school through Questbridge, you have to go to that school. The only exception to that is if you get into MIT. MIT is now the only non-binding school through Questbridge. And so after you rank your colleges, you then get notified if you are what's called a Questbridge finalist. And then if you are a finalist, you have about 10 or so days to do supplement applications for the colleges that you ranked. So this is when what colleges you ranked actually matter as far as what your application looks like. Some schools ask for a lot more. For example, some schools will ask for another essay. Some schools will ask for more short answers. Some schools don't want anything else. They're like, you know what, we got your Questbridge application, that's fine. We're only going to consider that. And so it really just depends. And so if you rank all 12 schools, you might have to have 12 more applications to do in a very short amount of time. So that is kind of where the stress of the of the Questbridge application comes. But a lot of people really get through it. And so then the third phase is kind of the decision phase. So you either get matched to a college, meaning that the college got your application and they said, great, we want you to come to our school. And then you go to that school. And then, but let's say you don't match to any of the colleges that you ranked. That's fine. That's not the end of Questbridge. If you don't match to any of the colleges that you ranked, your Questbridge application automatically rolls over into those colleges' regular decision pool. And so actually the majority of people that are in what's called the Questbridge network in whatever university they go to that university by using their Questbridge application in the regular decision pool. So even if you don't match to a school through Questbridge, that's not the end of the story. But Questbridge is a great program for students that meet the financial requirements for it, and it's a great program for students to look into.
Now we'll be talking about the appeals process. So appealing to your college for financial aid, as we talked in the very beginning, can definitely be an option. Preferably in the last case, like hopefully you've already gotten to your college, and now if you're unsatisfied with the financial aid package that you received, you might be eligible for more if you appeal to them. This process can look differently at each school, but generally you would do so through their financial aid department, it might be combined with housing, which is a little bit confusing, but you'll see that at your specific college that you get into. Make sure you have the necessary forms. You'll find those on that financial aid website, but you could also call them if you can't seem to find them or if you need help filling them out. Once you fill them out, make sure to get the signatures for it, all the signatures for it, and email and call the department as you submit them. And if they don't reply, email them again after 2 weeks of waiting. So with this sort of consistency and sort of pestering them or spamming, please be very polite, because depending on how pleased they are with you, that can determine if you get money at all or if you don't. And that's, so yeah, definitely please be very polite. That's just nice. And this application can definitely make or break your college financial aid package. I was lucky enough to get a full ride my freshman year, but this year with COVID, a lot of our financial aids were cut. So by politely spamming, I was able to get mine back to what I had last year.
Okay, so I'm talking about my personal experience with appealing to college. So basically what I did first is I checked my school's website for their preference of modality. So what I did is I contacted the financial aid office via their phone number. And basically what I did is I just explained my Bay Area expense living situation. All of us know that San Jose in the Silicon Valley is an expensive area, and sometimes our incomes might not truly be accurate representation as to what we actually have. So I explained basically that both my parents work full time, and I actually worked 3 jobs my senior year trying to make ends meet. So I basically just explained that situation a little bit more and how, rent's expensive and gas and all of that. And they basically had a conversation and dialogue with me, and they asked me to follow up by providing an email. And basically that's how I got a lot of my scholarship through the school. And then basically a second step that I took, and that I highly recommend, is if schools offer you different aid packages, definitely try to compare and bargain them against each other. I know when I narrowed it down to my last 2 schools, one school was offering me $12,000 and the other one was offering me $36,000 to go there per year. And so basically I politely called and then emailed the financial aid department and said, hey, what can you do to match my aid from another university? And like George said, please be polite and respectful when you're doing this, as the more polite and respectful you are, the more inclined they are to help you.
Next, we're going to talk about other methods that you can use to save for college. And first off, we're going to talk about standardized testing. So many of you have chosen to take AP classes, and that's actually a great way to save up for college. In college, just like in high school, there are general education requirements that all students have to take in order to graduate, regardless of their major. However, when you earn a high score on your AP test, usually a 4 or a 5, you may be able to get out of one of your college GE classes. For example, I took AP English classes and AP Math classes in high school. And so now when I'm in college, I don't have to take any English or math classes. I already got out of those requirements. And although there's a $90 fee to take AP tests at random, oftentimes that's much higher of a cost than to take a college course, because college tuition is crazy expensive. And so if you're up for the academic challenge, I definitely recommend taking APs, taking those AP tests, and getting out of college courses later on. The second bullet point is scholarships with SAT and ACT. So if you get a good score on your SAT or ACT, you may be eligible for certain scholarships associated with various colleges. And also there is the National Merit Scholarship Program, which is available to sophomores and juniors, I believe, that score high on the PSAT. And lastly, we're going to talk about self-reporting. We mentioned this topic briefly extensively in the SAT ACT webinar. So if you have a chance and you haven't seen that already, definitely go check that out. But basically, sending your scores, usually that happens during the college applications process. And each time you send in an SAT score, an ACT score, or an AP score to a college, you have to pay a fee. And so that can definitely add up over time, especially if you're applying to a lot of schools. So some colleges allow you to self-report your score. So Stanford, Santa Clara, and many other schools actually don't require you to send your scores during the college applications process. And instead, you can just write your score on the application. And then if you decide to enroll in that school, then you have to send your test scores. But other than that, you don't need to send your scores. They just trust that you're being honest on the application. So when you're researching schools and applying, definitely look into whether or not self-reporting is an option. It's not an option for all schools, but if it is, it can save you a lot of money.
All right, and another way by which you can save money is through part-time jobs. So the federal government has a program called Federal Work Study, where essentially while you apply for FAFSA, and that means that you will have to apply for FAFSA in order to qualify for this program, you would be able to, in your financial aid listing, it would designate like it would designate Federal Work Study, and then like an amount of money, and then you would the college is assuming that you'd be able to earn up to that amount of money in order to help pay off your expenses. And the federal work study process is something that you qualify for, but once you do qualify for it, you yourself must be proactive in like looking into the various systems by whichever school you're looking into seriously, like lets students apply for jobs. So in my case, I did qualify for federal work study, and this year I'm working 2 jobs, one of which I did have to apply for with like a cover letter and a resume and had to go in for an interview for, and the other of which a professor actually recommended me for. So being proactive and also getting to know your professors while you're at the school can afford you opportunities to help you save on college.
So now we have 5 tips from Miss Perez. And if you guys haven't met Miss Perez yet, please reach out to her. She is the most kind and hardworking individual out there. She really wants to just help you guys get into college and succeed. So definitely reach out to her. But these are her tips. So her first one is to make sure to have your social security number. This can determine your eligibility in financial aid applications. If you're a student and you do not have a social security number, you can check your eligibility with the California DREAM Act application, or as well as contacting your local county government. If the student has a social security number and the parents don't, you can still work on your FAFSA. The second tip that she has is the selective service question. It is mandatory for all male students, so you must register. And if you don't do this, unfortunately, the federal aid may be placed on hold. And so the third is to pay attention to deadlines. So most of the time, FAFSA and all other financial aid related deadlines will be around March 2nd, but make sure you check your websites and stuff. And if not, you may be placed on hold if you do not meet this deadline. And the fourth one is Branham is having a financial aid night, and that will be this October 13th.
Is seeking aid requires initiative. There is a lot of money to go around from federal programs, state programs, local businesses, private scholarships, and they really just require students reaching out and asking for money. It really is one of those closed mouths, don't get fed type thing. And so you really want to put your best foot forward in order to receive the most amount of money that you can. Secondly, Ms. Perez is a great resource. I think students often view the college application process and the college financial aid process as this huge winding maze, and it really doesn't have to be that way. There are amazing resources. Ms. Perez is one of them that people should definitely check out. The third is this financial aid process continues throughout your college experience. And so every year you'll have to renew financial aid. And so it's very similar things. You have to reapply to FAFSA. You have to update your CSS profile. And so really the only thing that changed with the application per year is how familiar you become with it and how many things autofill it. And when in doubt about anything, make sure to contact the financial aid office. You know, these are people that literally get paid to handle money. They literally get paid to answer student questions. So never be afraid to email them, contact them, because they are a great resource for whatever universities you guys are looking into.
So coming up the week of September 21st, we want to host a UC week. So each day we'll be getting different representatives from each UC. And on Sunday, hopefully we'll be able to host an entire panel of UC representatives that can talk about their experience. And each day will sort of be this interview style experience. So please know that that's coming up, and we'll send a link out to RSVP on Google Classroom in a few days. Look out for that.
And next, I'm going to be talking about the other services that we provide. In addition to webinars, we also provide one-on-one college tutoring. So if you sign up with this link on the screen, we'll set you up with a Branham alumni that meets your specific needs, and they can provide you mentorship on any aspect of the college process, whether it's trying to find schools, editing your essays, really anything at all. So definitely check that out. And then we also have a Google Classroom. So all of the different websites that we talked about in this webinar will be posted on the Google Classroom to make it really easy for you to access them and explore them. And so using this code, well, if you go to Google Classroom and then type in this code, you can join our Google Classroom. And it also has all of the resources from past webinars as well. And so definitely check that out. And then we also have an Instagram page. And so if you follow us at BHS Alumni Network, you can get access to the quizzes like what we did at the beginning of this webinar, and also just lots of fun advice. It's a great thing to go follow. And now we'll move on to the Q&A section.
So we have one question so far, and it is, what grade or age do you recommend we start applying for scholarships? And Maddie, would you like to answer this one?
Sure. You basically apply for scholarships at any grade you want. I know I applied for my first one actually as a sophomore in high school, so you can check local scholarships and kind of see what the requirements are. But I did a lot of mine senior year. That's where I got the most of mine. So basically, whenever the requirements are for your local ones, I recommend you go after it. It's never too late or too early to start.
And if I can add, even when you get into college, you shouldn't stop applying for scholarships. You'll always need, and FAFSA too, you need to keep applying for FAFSA once you get into college. Money doesn't just stop. You'll still need it. So yeah, keep scholarships in mind. This is gonna be a long process that you'll engage in every year.
And then I also want to clarify, because I've been getting a few questions about when to apply to the FAFSA or the CSS profile. So the FAFSA and the CSS profile are applied when you are a senior applying for colleges, because every year you'll be filling out these information for colleges to determine your financial aid needs in order to give you money. So they are not scholarships, and they will only apply to you when you are applying to colleges. And then as well as Questbridge, that's only if when you are applying to colleges, and then you will be applying through that application process. However, the scholarships that Maddie and Anastasia mentioned, those you can apply to anytime you want, anytime you have time, and anytime when you want to save up for colleges. And then our next question is, what if you want to go to junior college first? Can you still apply for all the programs mentioned, including Questbridge? Blake, would you like to answer that?
Towards seniors going into four-year universities. And so it's not open to students that go to a junior college and then want to transfer in.
But however, if you are applying to regular scholarships offered locally or those programs, you can definitely check them out. Like Unigo and Going Merry are all sites that you can watch out for scholarships.
And West Valley, I think, and De Anza both offer like these scholarships where you can have your first year of junior college free or first year of community college free. So check that out. Ms. Perez also has more information on that, and just the general Branham website and staff should be able to help you with that too.
Oh wait, hold on. I think we're getting a little bit confused. Do you mean junior college as in middle college, like you attend when you were a junior in high school? If you're still here, because we were talking about if you're attending community college after high school. But if you're doing junior college, which is when you're a junior in high school, can you still apply to Questbridge?
Your junior year of high school.
Okay, so yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then our next question is, okay, it's not related to scholarships, so we can answer it anyways. So do your extracurriculars have to relate to the subjects you want to major in? This is a question we often answer. Lauren, would you like to answer this one? Never mind. I can't answer that one. Your extracurriculars do not have to relate to the major that you're interested in. And actually, like in our extracurricular webinar, we also talked about how you can like explore different interests with your extracurricular activities. And it won't be until maybe your senior year in high school that you actually determine something that you want to major in. So it's totally fine if your extracurriculars don't relate to a subject that you want to major in.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So at some universities, you choose what major you're going to major in your sophomore year. And so it's not necessarily like you apply to the College of Engineering or the College of Arts and Sciences. You just apply to the school as a whole. And so, yeah, they're really looking for like passion and how well you like the extracurriculars that you're doing. But yeah.
And our next question is related. Should I take AP classes related to the majors I want to be in? Blake, would you like to answer this one as well?
Yeah, so this goes back to what was said earlier. When thinking mostly about like college credit, it really depends on the university and how they accept those things. If you're going to be a STEM major, it might be best to take like AP STEM classes, but some universities might not accept those depending on the situations. And so it really is a case-by-case thing, but really just take AP classes that you find interesting.
And those are all our questions so far. So if you have more questions, just like send them in. If not, so we invited 3 awesome like guests who have a lot of experience with scholarships, Questbridge. Do you guys have any specific tips that you might have for our viewers or for?
Wait, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Someone sent me privately a message.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Question. It's not really related to financial aid. And I don't know if it's something that we want to get into now, but the question is Ivy League worth it? I don't know if that's it. I don't go to an Ivy League school, so I don't really know the the answer to that.
Can I add a tidbit? So connecting this to like what we discussed, especially in the beginning, ultimately, your college experience is what you make of it. Colleges can be different, colleges can be similar. It really depends on like what kind of professors are there, how the environment fits with you. Like we have a whole college, like choosing your college webinar that you can also check out on our YouTube channel. But ultimately, the decisions you make for college might be influenced by how much money they give you. So Ivy Leagues and like schools like MIT and U Chicago that are like top 10 schools can give out a lot of money, but also might not give out a lot of money. It really depends on your situation. So please like keep that in mind when you're going into a school, like how much student loans you're taking on, because that could be a huge factor. Also at the same time, like there's nothing wrong with Ivy League schools. They have their reputation for a reason, and that reputation alone can definitely like bolster your career. But please make sure to balance, like be reasonable with your college decision. Even if you have to make a hard choice, be reasonable.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like honestly, I really being worth it or not depends on the person. So, what matters to you most when you're applying to college? Is it the financial aid that is offered? Is it the major that you want to go into? Because, for example, if you want to go into computer science, you would apply to Carnegie Mellon. But if you want to go into the humanities like English, you wouldn't go to that school. So it really depends on what you're looking for in your college based on your specific interests, and then you can decide whether an Ivy League is worth it for you to apply to and to attend.
Also, I will say the culture of colleges plays a huge account too. The culture at a university like Harvard, for example, in an Ivy League, is very different from the culture at a place like UC Berkeley, UCLA, Stanford, MIT, schools which are not Ivy League schools. And so just because a school is an Ivy League school doesn't mean that it's the right fit for you. Or even just because a school is, in like the top 10 doesn't mean that it's the right school for you. And so, being called an Ivy League is, I'll stop.
I think our point though is like, please do your research and like talk to alumni. Like if any of you have like questions for Blake about MIT or questions for Maddie about University of Arizona or for Anastasia about Kenyon, if we have like time for those, like we can definitely get into those, but like on your own time too, like we talked in the college selection webinar, like go out of your way to try to find alumni, possibly ones that went to Branham, and see like what their experiences are like, because like Blake said, each environment will make or break like your college experience. You're going to be spending 4 years of your life there at least, probably. So definitely consider that.
Are there any more questions that might be like messaged privately to you guys? No, be good. Okay. So I guess like last tidbits, do you guys want to share maybe like some tips that you have for like applying to scholarships or financial aid and that ways? And Anastasia, would you like to start if you have a tip?
Yeah, sure, I can start. So I think that once you're wherever you end up going, kind of one of the most important things that you can do is with whatever your area of interest may be, or whoever you're in contact with within the school's administration, like within the admissions office or within financial aid, or just within the general like college infrastructure, you're going to want to build relationships with those people, because they can provide you connections to resources like financial aid and resources beyond that you would not otherwise have access to. So networking within just like the college itself can be a really good place to start.
I would just like to add one thing. Definitely at school, just make sure to be proactive. That's like a number one thing. Financial aid is easy to obtain. You just have to make sure that you're doing it your part. It won't just get there if you're just sitting there. So make sure to reach out and do so respectively, and just be proactive, and things will work out.
Yeah, and so I think when applying to applications, whether to scholarships, financial aid, or universities themselves, make sure to be genuine in your applications. I know a lot of students, including myself, who kind of think like, oh, like I should write about what the person reading this wants to hear. I should write about what the school wants to hear, what the scholarship wants to hear. But really just write about you, because that's what they're asking about. And so, yeah, that's really, I think the best advice I can give as far as applications go.
Thank you. Thank you for the tips. I'm sure they're gonna help a lot of students. Okay, so if you are, I guess like if there are no more questions, the webinar can just end here and I will stop the recording. But if you have any more questions, just feel free to message us and then we'll just answer them. But for now, we'll just stop the recording and you can leave if you have no other questions.
And thank you all so much for coming.